welcome to Storytellers Showcase. I'm your host, Mark, and today we have a special treat for you. Today we have John Petrik. And John creates stories in several different genres, and he's told in many different venues, and today he's going to share with us a historical story. So take it away, John.
Thank you, Mark. I got the idea for this story riding down F Street in my hometown of Davis, and there's a sign there that says the Pony Express went through there. So I was prompted to do some historical research on that, and this is as close to true as I can make it. My name is Sam Hamilton, and I may not look like much, but I was a hell of a horseman. In fact, I was the top rider for the Pony Express out of Sacramento, and there's a lot of monuments in California to prove that. Well, you might know something about the Pony Express from cowboy movies, but it weren't that glamorous. It was hard and dirty work, but it paid good, $50 a month. And them young bucks, some of them were pretty wild, but that wasn't me. I was 35 years old, and I knew horses. I knew how to get the most out of them without injuring them or hurting them, because we had to ride them hard and fast. Well, I better tell you a little bit about the Pony Express. You see, back in 1860, the United States was as wide as it is today. And to get mail and news from the East Coast to us Westerners, well, that could take months. We had to go around South America, or there was a stage line way down south. Well, it kind of looked like there was going to be a war between the northern states and the southern states over slavery. And Washington, D.C. had to talk to California because California was a free state. So somebody came up with this idea of a Pony Express, a relay of man and horses from St. Joe, Missouri to Sacramento, California, 2,000 miles over some of the toughest country, biggest deserts, highest mountains that there is. And we were going to do it in 10 days. And by golly, we did it. Well, let me tell you why that's so hard. You see, you can only ride even a good horse 10, 15 miles before you got to stop, you got to water him, you got to rest him. Well, we didn't have time to do that, covered 2,000 miles in 10 days. So they set up 190 stations across here. Each one of them had men and horses. The way it worked is one rider would hand off mail to the other. He'd ride by 80, 100 miles, maybe stop at 7 different aid stations, change horses, and then hand off to the next guy. And how they got water and hay into those stations in the middle of the desert, well, I don't even know. But enough about that. You guys want to hear something about all my monuments, right? I suppose you do. Well, I was the first guy to ride into Sacramento from the east, the very first mail run. See, I picked up the mail in Sportsman's Hall. That's about 15 miles east of Placerville. And I get to Placerville, and they say they're going to hold the boat for the mail till 5 o'clock. Well, I better tell you about the boat. You see, we rode horses from St. Joe to Sacramento, but at Sacramento we put the mail on a steamboat and took it down the Sacramento River through the bays to San Francisco. Well, anyway, I get going from Placerville, and I would have made that 5 o'clock, but I hadn't even got to Sutter's Fort yet, and there were already 20, 30 guys riding along with me, shooting their guns in the air, hooping and hollering, and they were shooting. They were kicking up so much dust and dirt, I had to pull my neckerchief up like this, but my horse didn't have no neckerchief, and he was struggling. And then we get in town, it's even worse. There's a couple cannons going off, there's bands playing, people are yelling and shooting in the air. That horse was getting awful spooked. I barely got him down to the water, but I did. I got him down to the river in just a couple minutes after 5. Doggone, I didn't get to do no celebrating because that horse, he needed some work. We took him down to Wright Meyer's stable down there on K Street, and we rubbed him down, we walked him, we finally got his lungs cleaned out a little bit. We saved that horse. He was a nice roan. I'm glad we were able to save him. Well, I could tell you about a lot of other rides. I could tell you about when I took the men and horses out into Nevada Territory to rebuild the stations after the Paiute uprising. I could tell you about the first ride from the west into east into Sacramento, because I was a rider on that one too. I picked up the mail in Sacramento, and it was there in the middle of the night. So I had to ride out to Sportsman's Hall, drive in rainstorm. That's 4,000 foot elevation. By the time I got there, it's snow. But the real hero of that story is a young fella named Warren Upson, because he took the mail from me and he rode across the Sierras in a snowstorm. And you don't want to be in the Sierras in a snowstorm. You can ask the Donner family about that one. But he made it, and the mail made it in 10 days. Well, maybe I got time for one more, I suppose. You see, I was the first guy to ride the mail to the west too. You see, sometimes the mail was delayed and it missed the boat, and then we'd have to ride it into San Francisco. Well, this was only the second run, and it was snowing in the Sierras, of course. And I get the mail in Sportsman's Hall. It's already 9 o'clock at night. So I ride through the snow and the mud to Sacramento. I get there about 1 a.m. Well, of course, boat's long gone by then. Mr. Coleman, he's the station manager, and he says, "Well, hey, this is only our second run. We got a reputation to establish. We got to get this mail in 10 days. We can't wait for that boat. So you're going to have to ride it." So I got a fresh horse. There was a little wooden bridge across the Sacramento River at that time, and I'm in the Yolo Tules. And that is a swamp. Well, a couple guys had laid some planks to show you a way through the swamp. But those planks, they were moving up and down and sideways, and I could have broke my horse's leg 100 times. But I got through there. And then I'm out in the valley, and it's smooth sailing down to Solano House, across Puda Creek where Davis is now. And I just get out of Solano House, and I can see there's a lantern. Somebody put a lantern in the 3rd floor of the Sylvieville Hotel. So I'll whip right over to Sylvieville, change horses, go into Vacaville, stop at Gillespie's store and change horses again, and there's still a monument right there, Main Street in Vacaville, by Gillespie's store. And then I ride up into the Vaca Range and end up in Benicia at about 7 a.m., hand off the mail to another guy. Well, that was about 120 miles, 11 hours in the saddle. That was a good day's work. That was a good day's work. Well, you see, Pony Express connected California to the United States. But come fall 1861, only 16 months later, they completed the telegraph, and there was no more need for the Pony Express. Well, we always thought maybe it's kind of on its last legs anyway, because it takes a lot of money to run all them men and horses, and our paydays kept getting farther apart. So I lost that job, but I could get lots of jobs. I was a good horseman, but I was never no businessman. And so I pretty much ended up with nothing, except for my name on a lot of them monuments in California. And some people say that full-size rider statue down in 2nd and K in Old Sacramento, some folks say that looks a lot like me. Yeah!